up, everyone? This is Jameson, and I'm about to drop some secret knowledge out here. I'd like to say thank you for watching. I love you guys. Now, today I'm going to talk about how to exit your own mind. How to exit your own mind. Alright? Exiting your own mind is all about your perception about the mind. Everything is a perception, so how you perceive something will determine how that thing acts. Alright? So, look at the mind like this. Think of the mind as a container. The mind is the metaphysical part of our brain, and the brain is the physical mind. So in a way, they're one and the same. The mind and the brain, they're like the same thing, just existing on different aspects of reality. It's multidimensional. Your mind is the metaphysical part of your brain. Alright, so your mind is a container, and within this container you have thoughts. It is a container of information. It is a container of psychic contents. It is a container of perceptions. It's a, most importantly, container of the I. The one you call I. I want this. I want that. That's all within your mind. The I is also an I as well. So the letter I, when you call yourself I, literally has an I in the letter. Like if you look at like the long point and then you have the circle, the dot, that's an I. You have an I in a body. That's literally what the I is. Individuality. That's your individualism right there. Your sense of self. All of these things are contained within the mind. What is the mind? The mind is an organ. The mind is an organ. So, your mind is a part of your body, just as much as your heart, just as much as your spleen, just as much as your liver. And what's happening within these organs? There's a constant take and give. So, for example, the heart is taking in oxygen. You breathe in oxygen. You can feel your heartbeat as you breathe in oxygen, and then the heart translates that oxygen into carbon dioxide, pushes out carbon dioxide, and then you breathe out carbon dioxide. So you're taking, and then you're giving. It's the same exact thing with the mind. The mind is taking in information, and it's also giving out information. So there's an input and there's an output. Now, sometimes our input gets clogged up because we don't know how to, smooth out the mind, have it naturally flowing like a river or a stream. Because that's what it is. There's a stream of thoughts coming in, just like your bloodstream. These streams are going through your organs. A stream of information. Information works in the stream. Your consciousness works in the stream. And when you block and clog up that stream, you have frustrated energy. Energy that cannot get to where it needs to get, where it needs to go. So what happens is disease. Things like that happen. Mental disease, physical disease. Because energy is not flowing properly. What happens when you start to clog up your thoughts, what happens, you get lost in that one organ. You get lost in your mind, and you start to build, without even realizing, a mental prison. And you start to live inside your own prison that you built and not even know how you got there. And it's mind-boggling because it's like you put yourself in this prison. And that's kind of, it's like, why would I put myself here? Why would I put myself in this negative situation? Or have this negative perspective? But the most important step is to take responsibility, know that you got there so you can get yourself out of there. And this is how you do it. When you exit the mind, you can allow the mind to have a natural flow and stream of information. And have harmony within your mind. Even when the mind is disharmonious. If you step out of your mind, exit your mind will return back to a state of harmony. Alright? So taking in that perspective, that the mind is an organ just as much as your heart, or your spleen, or even your foot. Now look, I know your foot's not your organ, but it's still a body part. When you get lost in your mind, that'd be like getting lost in your foot. Your feet, your foot walks. So when you get lost thinking that you're your mind, what happens is, that's like saying, because your foot walks, right? Just like your mind thinks. That's like saying, instead of I am walking, that's saying I am walk. Like you're the walk itself. And that's what you do when you get lost in the mind. Instead of saying I am thinking, you're actually saying I am thought. Because you have a thought and you have attached the I with that thought. So now that thought is lost. Now the I is lost in the thought. And you have to know, at least have an idea of how you get lost in the mind so you can understand how to exit your mind. And when I mean exit your mind, you're also not getting rid of it either, because it's an organ, it's part of your body. That'd be like getting rid of your spleen or getting rid of your liver. You generally don't want to do that unless it's absolutely necessary. But your mind, nah. We don't want to get rid of it, we're just exiting it. So have that understanding. Your mind is an organ. What I want you to do is start perceiving this way. Perceive that if this is your mind right here, and the mind is a container, see that thoughts are coming in. But just look at the thoughts coming in your mind. And then watch the thought leave. Watch the thought come in and then watch the thought leave. That way, as opposed to being the one lost in the thought, you're lost in your own container, your own organ. You step outside of it by seeing that, okay, I can watch what's inside the container. One moment you're in the snow globe, the next moment you're outside the snow globe, looking into the snow globe. So you still have the snow globe, you still have the mind, but now you're looking at the mind. So you're not lost, you're not becoming a thought. You're watching the thoughts. So that way, the more you do that, when you do think, you'll be aware that you're just using this organ right here. Just as if you were walking. You're not the walk itself, you're just aware that you're walking. But you know you're not the walk itself. Or same thing if you're fighting. And if you punch someone, You're not the punch. You're not the punches. You're the one punching. That way you have full control over your punches. Same thing with thinking. You're not the thought. You're the one thinking. And if you remind yourself that, you have to remind yourself that you are thinking when you are thinking, then you're not going to get lost in your own organ, in your own container, and put yourself inside a prison of your own making. So that's how to exit the mind, is to understand that the mind is a container. And so if the mind is an organ, then obviously you're not anything inside the organ. That'd be like saying, okay, the heart, oxygen comes in and carbon dioxide comes out. You're not oxygen and you're not carbon dioxide. You're ingesting oxygen. Just like you're ingesting thoughts. You are ingesting thoughts. But you're not the thoughts. The thoughts are just information, nutrients that you're ingesting into your mind. That's how your mind eats, is by thoughts. By having that understanding, you will start to separate yourself from your own mind. And it does take some time at first, because we live in a world where people actually believe that they are what they are inside their minds. This whole I phenomenon. Now that thing, the whole I, like the sense of self, it is still a part of you. But you're not that thing. You're not the I. The I is an organ inside the mind. The mind has its own organs. But you're not any of those things. You're not the sense of self. You're the one watching all the things happening. It's literally as simple as, if we were to replace your heart and call this the mind, it's literally as simple as listening to the beat of this. And what you'll notice is, as you become aware of yourself listening to the beat, you'll notice that the beat starts to slow down. If you're to listen to your heartbeat, you'll notice it will start to slow down naturally when you listen to it. It's the exact same thing with the mind. If we were to call this your mind beside your heart, just imagine, pretend like this is the mind right here. All we have to do is listen. Listen to it. And when you listen to it, it will naturally start to slow down and harmonize with its own self. Because in a way, it's like the organ is becoming aware that it is an organ. When you get lost in thought, your mind is just as lost as you are. Your mind, nobody's doing this to harm you. Like, your mind actually wants the best for you. The mind really wants to help you out, but you have to be the one to be responsible and take care and direct your mind so that your mind can perform efficiently and healthily. It's not a word, but you know what I'm saying. Just like your other organs, it's about health. Because when you're healthy and you have that healthy mind, everything will work harmoniously, the way it should be. Now you could do this. Exit your own mind. Anytime you feel anxiety, any of those things, fear, exit your mind. That doesn't mean you're getting rid of the anxiety or fear. It just means you're stepping outside of it. So if you're having anxiety, first you have to take that deep breath just to stop everything. Stop everything. Stop time for one moment. And then start to look at the anxiety as a separate entity. Look at your thoughts and your mind as a separate entity. And that's how you exit the mind. If I had to sum everything up that I just said, is to, if the mind is an organ, which it is. Your mind is an organ. So look at it as an organ, a separate entity, just like you would your heart, just like you would your brain. Literally, that's what you have to do. And then you will naturally step outside of it. You're not inside your heart, you're looking at your heart and you're listening to your heart. Same exact thing with the mind. You're not inside your mind, you're looking at your mind. You can't see it as you can your body, but you could see it metaphysically, because the mind is metaphysical in nature. Alright? So, yeah, that's how you exit the mind. Come at it with that perception. And everything will flow harmoniously. Alright? So yeah, thank you for watching. And of course, have a blessed